and just fill in the gaps.
Let's see what they do one game at a time as we get into this one against the high-flying Fluxo. Los Grandes look to keep their season alive. Rudu, Trajan, take it away.
Thank you very much, 4x4. Heading through the bans, pretty standard stuff. The Kai'Sa ban, though, is actually interesting. Normally, we do see it left open and picked by either side, but Fluxo, someone who has been making great use of it, is the ban on your screens, Brunsey. Doesn't want to leave that up to chance here.
Yeah, and I think they're both in tune around Brunsey, as we've highlighted time and time again, just top. I would go top 4 AD carry, and that's conservative without too much thinking about it. AD carries in our region, so getting rid of probably the best AD carry on the patch just stands to reason. You don't want to be giving over an advantage for no good reason. But I love the Tristana open. I think this champion as well, absolutely exceptional. Really strong lane bully. You're able to force priority in the mid lane. It helps out your jungle, helps out your bot lane. The possibilities really are endless.
Yeah, it does give Lava a lot to work with in that mid lane against House, one of our most lane-dominant mid laners in the last few splits. But against Tristana, it's really hard to crack that open, and I think House is already going to have a tough task if he wants to crack open Lava. Lava's a very consistent, strong performer in that laning phase, so the Tristana definitely gives him a lot to work with. As the Rel locked in still for Jojo, has been slightly nerfed on this patch, but certainly still higher priority.
They didn't nerf the kit, or sorry, they nerfed the numbers. The kit is still the same, is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
If you find a good engage on Rel, you find a good engage on Rel. Those things have not changed. So very happy that we get to see Jojo performing on this Rel pick as well. And we were discussing as well in the green room our sort of support power rankings as well. We also have Jojo, again, without too much thinking about it, decidedly on our top 4, maybe even top 2. So very happy to see Jojo on an engaged support facilitating his team. Looking forward, we're looking for champions to dive in with this Fluxo composition. You've already got the LeBlanc on one side. Would be no surprise to see something like an Ornn, a Sion taken into that top lane. Though with that being said, those matchups against a Rumble can be quite difficult, so maybe you pivot to things like a Cannon and then you can go double AD in your jungle AD carry role.
Yeah, I do like the Rumble pickup for Los Grandes here. Hidan himself is a guy who can take the carries into the lane. We have always known this to be the case, even in previous splits when we've seen him in Academy and his short stint in the actual top lane for... who was it? Flamengo, perhaps? A split or two ago. So we know that Hidan can be that role, fulfill that carry position, and we'll see if Tay wants to match him at it or if he wants to revert back to the weak side king persona. Obviously, the Cassante is still up and open, but we don't love that into the Rumble for him, I'll be honest.
Nobody likes Rumble, or nobody likes Cassante into Rumble. Nobody likes melee champions into Rumble. It's just a bad time. Rumble has a very decent time of things against most melees, which is why things like the Kennen here I'm expecting to see banned away if you're looking for like bad top matchups to go for. This Ornn, I think, is just a bit of a miss. I think that you can very easily punish the Ornn on this Rumble, but it does suggest that they're probably going to go for this. Likely take away the Cassante as well, just so you get double dip on those top tanks.
Yeah, and with Fluxo locking in this Viego, I find that pretty interesting, that they are taking a jungler, and a jungler that is not really banned very often at this stage. You're unlikely to have it taken away. There was nothing they wanted to prioritize higher, I guess, whereas now I'd expect Los Grandes, if they hadn't banned the Ornn away, I would have expected more carry bot laners taken away, removing things like the Aphelios, potentially just other things that Brunsey can go carry mode on.
And it's worth mentioning as well, this Tristana can be flexed into the support role, and I think the Tristana and Mumu 2 versus 2, be it mid-jungle, be it as a bot lane duo, very powerful for all-ins, and don't be surprised if Los Grandes do pull out some slight switch-a-roos down on that bot side of the Rift with the Tristana and Mumu locked in. Zeri is the champ taken away though, so scaling scares from Brunsey in the back mind of Los Grandes.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we've got maybe Jinx and Aphelios left as the most obvious scaling carries down there, but neither of them really loves going up against things like Amumu, things like Rumble ult, so we'll see if how Brunsey's positioning is looking, and if he wants to maybe take something with less scaling, but more self-sufficiency, more mobility, which might leave them a little bit lacking in that late game, as the Renekton is locked in for Tay, so he is still picking something that is ready to scrap, ready to throw down in that lane.
Okay, so 10 potential for them to try and find a fight around that top side Renekton Viego. Definitely a very scary 2 versus 2 that can look to be leveraged. And of course, when you got the LeBlanc in the mid lane as well, this top side 3 versus 3 for Fluxo, actually very terrifying. Obviously, Tristana and Mumu very strong as well. The Thresh Aphelios locked in here for Los Grandes, so a very safe, stable bot lane 2 versus 2. The safety provided by the Thresh Lantern, something to keep in our minds.
It is the Sivir locked in for Brunsey here, a scaling carry but with the extra safety of the ult and the spell shield, so kind of finding the answer, I think, to all of the problems that you could have had with the meta picks left open by Los Grandes. So we'll see if the Sivir is able to still stand up. Obviously, Aphelios, we know how much damage this can do, a very reliable late game carry. And for Fluxo, there's a lot of mobility, right? The Sivir ult into LeBlanc with Diego and Renekton, hard to nail them down, hard to pin them to the wall in an actual fight. But Los Grandes just have so much CC coming in. Amumu with the Rumble ult, the Thresh, the Gravitum. There's so much to get caught by if you're going to get caught.
There it is, and we can bring on in our gracious host 4x4 for some passing thoughts looking at these two rosters.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is exciting. We're seeing a lot of different picks and a couple different looks. Tay still on the carries, but I'm excited as a 10-year Amumu main myself for the magic damage in the top side. Amumu's passive lowers magic resist. Hammer that top lane. I like that Los Grandes have kind of went for broke here. They're not just putting heat on tank duty. They're fighting fire with fire in the top lane, literally with this Rumble. I love taking it away from Tay. Now let's see you use it. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that, and I agree as well that Los Grandes need to kind of bet on themselves here. We talked about the fact that their playoffs run, it's not over. The hopes are not dead. They have a lot of top teams to face, but they're not Pain. They're not the safe top team. They're the volatile top teams like Red, like Loud, who could just trip over themselves on the day. Even Fluxo have been known to fall off a cliff when playoffs around the corner. If Los Grandes get this win, then they can beat INTZ tomorrow. The playoffs leapfrog might start to look pretty likely.
That it might. I'm certainly hoping that we can get a bit more spice toward the back end of this season. My general prevailing thoughts at the minute are that we just have a top 6 and that they're probably going to stay the top 6 at the minute. Obviously hoping for Furia, for Los Grandes to make a last split or last second spurt toward the playoffs, and if they can do so, it just does make everything so much more entertaining.
Is the fleet footwork on LeBlanc normal?
It's just static shiv. It's just static shiv. It is normal. It just means we're seeing another shiv from House, and I think that LeBlanc LeBlanc, one of the few AP shiv champions or probably the only AP champion to survive the shiv nerfs. It's still very strong on her, so.
Yeah, for sure. We see that Ratuna has been pushed back out of his bot try by Jojo, forging his way in. And the wave clear coming out of Sivir and Static Shiv LeBlanc is going to be ridiculous. We will not be able to crash a wave from any kind of safe distance. It's going to be about finding those picks and those fights with the Amumu ult and the Thresh for Los Grandes later on. And then Fluxo, the fact that House, as we've said, has gone back to Static Shiv LeBlanc, kind of the only person in the league who is still bringing this out time and time again. With this LeBlanc game, it's now his most played champion at 4 games. What do you think it is that House sees that no one else really wants to deal with this LeBlanc, with the Shiv?
I think the maneuverability versus a champion like Amumu and a Thresh makes it quite desirable for this game specifically. He obviously took it a little bit earlier on in the draft, but for me, the fact that you just are able to poke away at these AD carries is going to be very, very valuable. The early damage that you can do before fights by just Wing forward, Night Harvester proc, plus a Q, plus the Static Shiv, generally speaking, quite hard to outplay. And I want to quickly touch a little bit on our top lane here, because there's an actual summoner spell difference that we don't frequently see. But Hidan taking the Ignite on the Rumble, really looking to bully out early onto this Renekton.
Level 2 hit by the Fluxo bot lane, Ranger dropping ever lower, does manage to hold on to his flash. But we saw there Jojo engaging with the crash down before the level 2 is even hit, getting the exact preemptive timing to get the pressure on board there.
Exactly what you want to see, right? You know that a minion's going to die if you're timing your skill shot in line with when your AD carry is going to last hit that level 2 creep. You can catch the enemy team off guard and, like we see right there, get a favourable trade. Now, Ignite was used, so that kill pressure a little bit mitigated, but this is going to leapfrog a little bit into not just getting the wave crash, but also a first recall for Brunsey.
Yeah, so bot lane, salvaged by Fluxo, all's well down there. As we look at the other lanes here, small lead for Lava, but top lane is decidedly in Hidan's favor over the first few waves. The Rumble, as we've said, very happy into those melee matchups, and with the Ignite, Hidan does have that extra threat to bring to bear.
do want to pull the fact that Los Grandes' composition the later this game goes very, very scary, right? We've got double marksman plus a Mumu Rumble as a combo for that top side, and if we layer on the added safety that a Thresh is going to provide, Los Grandes can set up these 5 versus 5s, Equalizer plus Curse of the Sad Mummy. I dare you to find a better combo with the Mumu passive that 4x4 alluded to. And then, like we said, double AD carries versus a not particularly big front line for Fluxo. Los Grandes are going to be very happy to take these death ball team fights, and Fluxo, they're the team that are a little bit pressured to make plays in the early game. They've got a LeBlanc, Viego, Renekton topside 3 versus 3. Terrifying for any metric of players to go against.
Yeah, certainly. And Desamus has been someone getting very active, getting in the faces of his opposing junglers all the way from the start of the split. And Enel, by contrast, has been someone who's been very much kind of subservient jungler to his lanes, just doing what they need him to do, not having the greatest performance really mechanically either. And on the Amumu now, we need to see him finding the bandage tosses, finding those massive engages to set up these team fights and not getting shoved around as he might be before, as Desamus has an angle onto bot lane in the early flash from range, but there's the crash down. Surely it's done and dusted for the Thresh. First kill for Desamus, and he's off the platform now.
Great timing there from Desamus. Knows that Los Grandes want to crash this wave. You can see it's in an awful position now for Natuno. Skips out on his bot side camps, just makes his way down there, finds first blood. Knows that there's a early advantage there that had been given over to Brunsey and Jojo from the earlier skirmish that we got to see the Ignite used in. And honestly, this all comes back to the way that Fluxo played that early laning phase. They were able to push that third wave, get it to crash. By the time they get back to the lane, it means that Los Grandes has to find a crash on their end or find this sort of situation where their wave is in a really compromised position, and Fluxo make the most of it. They're able to find the gank timing from Desamus down into the bot lane, and you can tell on the minimap there's actually no response from Enel. He's walking all the way from base. He knows that this is the play, but Los Grandes not willing to cede a little bit of experience, cede that wave, end up ceding a lot more with first blood.
Certainly is. Gold into Desamus' pocket. We'll see if he can make good use of it as he now continues to mount on that pressure. Drops the equalizer to delay Tay, who you can see is recently teleported. Not even level 6 yet. Tay is getting kind of blasted up here, Rude, I'll be honest.
Yep, Renekton doesn't like playing versus Rumble because Rumble destroys all melees. Now Desamus has a chance here to make the most of this heat on trying to stop bases.
Yeah, there's no one to help but Flash in for Tay. He's burning away to the Ignite, and Hedon will be traded. But a 1-for-1 in a 1 versus 2, not too bad.
Desamus has to push this next wave as well. Honestly, make sure either that the melees crash under the turret or that he pushes that next wave. And hoping that it's the former that's happened. Otherwise, Tay's going to be in a slow push where, again, really awful wave state for him is going to allow for Hedon to continue to bully in this top lane. Early Sork shoes as well, trying to counteract the Merc Treads rush that we're likely to see from Tay.
And in that trade, we saw Tay did not get the money here. He lost more minions under his tower. Desamus happy to walk away with another kill, but Tay does not even have his Merc Treads done yet. Going up against Sork Shoes, Amp Tome, it's totally going to get worse for him up there. And we'll have to see what Tay can do with the low econ Renekton, which is not a very exciting prospect for any top laner.
The champion that gets super outscaled gets given 0 gold in a game. Disastrous for the top side. Now, fortunately, right, we know that Desamus is very powerful on this Viego. We also know that Brunsey will be able to do disgusting late game Sivir things as an AD carry as well. Whether they are enough to offset the amount of damage that is going to come from the bot lane or from the 2 AD carries of Los Grandes obviously remains to be seen. For the time being, Desamus is trying to, at the very least, commence some reparations on this top side. Knows that he's got to hover Tay while he pushes this wave in and make sure that his wave isn't completely doomed.
Didn't push it at the time, but we'll make sure it arrives at some stage. Tay now heading out of the river to see what he can do elsewhere on the map. As the rest of the game, I should say, fairly stock standard. Loss is ahead by a couple of hundred. The Dragon's still untouched as of yet. And with the ults approaching, Los Grandes will have the Amumu ult. With the Tuno as well, Desamus doesn't quite find the CC onto Tristana. They won't have that pick setup, which could have led to that Dragon. They find a chain, but a Buster Shot is forced. And House takes a fair amount of damage for it.
Yeah, so, you know, you're able to burn ulti, but you do cost a lot of HP. Now, House has Teleport, a world where we use that to get back to the bot side of the map, just in case of a potential Drake start. Get to see, though, looking at those mid lane items, a quick pivot from Lava in the laning phase. Vampiric Scepter means that it's near on impossible for House to bully this Tristana out of the laning phase, and you can see House just as fast as possible working toward that static shift. Moon Quiver and a Kerchase shot already finished. Started off with that longsword in the laning phase, so a little bit less innate health, and it did mean that he, lost a little bit out on those minions. But Lava so far done a very good job, just making sure that he's building appropriately for the laning matchup.
Aggression onto Hiran. Tay and Jojo are there working on this Rumble. He has no flash. Desamis round to cover as well. It's just a done deal. Third kill straight for the Viego. And Desamis is really going to have to carry these fights, man. They've put a lot of eggs in this basket.
And this play goes so much deeper than just a roam to the top side from Jojo. Look at the vision inside the topside jungle from Fluxo. Los Grandes' blue buff lit up the Gromp as well. They know there's no counter gank. NL cannot be there to respond. And they're just making the most of these timings. As soon as this bot side gets forced in, Brunsey recognizes that and has to back away because his support is still making their way back from top lane. So it's not a play without repercussions. Los Grandes do lose out on their top laner and lose a little bit of that top advantage, but it's in favor of getting gold onto Natuno, in favor of making their bot lane superstar AD carry for this roster that little bit stronger.
If ever there was a win condition, Natuna was certainly one, but Enel sticks around a little too long. The Lantern to safety just about gets him out. That could have been disastrous, could have been Dragon gone, could have been a lot negative for Los Grandes, but the Thresh pick comes up huge.
And that is the only way that Enel gets out there. Really happy to see that he doesn't burn the flash early, cost himself a summoner spell without it being too impactful, makes his way toward the Thresh, knows the timing on that Lantern, and Ranger able to bail out his jungler.
Samus still starting up this Drake, and you see the three-man squad from Los Grandes working their way out of the fountain. No assistance for Samus, not going to be the fastest take, but should be fast enough to secure this objective, and Brunsey and Jojo get to crash a little wave. Natuno does have a lead on the Felios, has completed that Kraken Slayer as well, does have a bit more damage to bring to bear. And how do you feel, Rudude, about Sivir in these earlier stages around the kind of 1 to 2 item spike that we know is so good for Aphelios?
I don't really think Sivir does a lot of damage. I really don't if you're going static shiv as well. You're very good at wave clearing, very good at stalling out and prolonging the game, but you do probably want 3-4 items before you really start to hit home. And you've got go Navori quick blades usually on the Sivir. I'm not against things like the Infinity Edge either if you want to try and really bolster up the damage that we are going to need to see from Brunsey. We highlighted the fact that this Fluxo composition kind of wants to be winning early, or severely hands check late. The sort of factor that, or the thing that proves that that's a rule, the exception that proves the rule rather, there we go, is that Brunsey just does damage at 6 items on Sivir. That's a thing of that champion, and it's always going to be.
Yeah, if we get there, he's going to get there in a very large way, and it will start to be felt by all of Los Grandes in those team fights, especially if they're all diving in to try and secure something. Those ricochets will start to tear through them. As Los Grandes have held on to their minor gold lead, a dragon in the favor of Fluxo, but generally speaking, the Los Grandes early game has been solid across all 3 lanes. It's only the jungle that is heavily in the Samus' favor, because he is going to pick up every single kill that he sets up for himself as Ranger, throws out a hook, doesn't find it, and Nell on the bot side as well. Fluxo do not want to get baited into a fight here. Maybe they do, Diego's there now.
These 3 versus 3s, early on for Fluxo, we're expecting them to want to take it. A lot of the damage going to be reliant on this Viego.
Oh, what an engage by Jojo! It's picture perfect, Rudude! And a kill for Brunsey, another for Desamis, and a Nell skulks into the lane like, well, I tried to be in the right place, but that was over before I could even join.
And that's just what we love from Jojo, has really rounded out into a very powerful support, engaged champion on this bot side of the Rift. They're going to find an L under the turret again as well. Brunsey, not the recipient of the kill, unfortunately, but Desamis 5-0-1. I asked for him to be a strong skirmisher through the early game. He's currently got 100% kill participation and 5 of the kills for himself.
Yeah, he's getting down and dirty this game for sure. As a replay of that fight, we can see the excellent engagement Jojo catching them both.
Lantern's not in a great spot. Ranger doesn't have flash to reposition it either. We talked about the fact that Rel got nerfed. Well, the Rel still does exactly that, right? If you find a good engage, the numbers really do not mean a thing. Using the Herald down in the bot side as well means that Brunsey are going to be able to collect even more gold, and we've talked about this narrative a lot when you're playing up against Los Grandes, is how many ganks does it take to put Natuno fully out of the game. That one there is absolutely damning.
Yeah, it certainly is. Still up in the CS, but a kill and 3 assists for Brunsey. Now he's got that static shift done, and Natuno might be walking into another trap, but DeSamus and Jojo call it off just before it can spring. Lava would make it a 2 versus 3. And I think that's a good idea when you've got so much gold on DeSamus. The bounty is huge. Do not throw that shutdown away.
You can see Trinity Force did end up getting some changes, largely nerfs, just making sure that the scaling on it and the ramping damage that you get from being in combat is a little bit reduced, but still very powerful on a Viego, and particularly a Viego who has 5 kills as well. Definitely not going to feel bad in any means.
Build whatever he wants, to be honest. It's probably going to be fine. He's that far ahead. Just picks the Triforce, and it's a good one for sure. As we do head towards this 14-minute mark, plates falling off, you can see. Definitely Los Grandes still in control of that extra gold, and they are still only slightly behind now, despite the fact that they are 6 kills down to 1.
And it comes from these solo laners. I want to give credit to Lava and Hidan. Hidan, despite those couple of ganks, still continuing to demolish top lane. The mid lane as well received a little bit of love from DeSamus. Lava, though, still more than happy to have this CS advantage. Had taken a couple of plates in that mid lane as well. So really good stuff from the solo laners of Los Grandes. Unfortunately, not quite had that same jungle impact that NL has maybe seen in weeks gone by, but DeSamus really having a great game so far, and NL just hasn't been able to match.
NL searching for Brunsey. Ooh, Brunsey holding the spell shield, the flash, the cleanse, not phased by that incredibly close call, as now 4 people come out of the woodwork looking for him once again. This time he will be forced to press that spell shield, but still survives. Los Grandes retreat up to that top side. The Herald up very shortly, and that top side really has been where their power and success has been found.
Very big fan of NL looking for the Q smite combo there. What you'll do is you'll let the enemy think that they're safe hiding behind a single minion. You then throw your Q at that minion, you smite it while your Q is in midair, and then obviously it passes the minion as it's died. You've managed to potentially lock onto the target. Brunsey still, however, had spell shield and dodged out anyway, so it's good to see those little mechanics being utilised by NL, and maybe we can see it better executed as we move later into the game. Regardless, though, Los Grandes do find themselves the Rift Herald and maybe lose out on a fight.
Yeah, Ranger throws knockout, doesn't land. The Nail goes in, binds for 3-man ultimate. Natuno's out with Infernum. This could get very hairy, plus the equalizer. Beautiful stasis of Ranger delays the play as Lava rotates over. And Los Grandes have caught Fluxo getting a bit too overexcited in the mid lane. Suddenly, everyone comes around the corner, and Los take 3 kills, including the shutdown. As House tries to find the kill on Natuno, doesn't quite have the damage to make it work.
Oh, and now Tay's in trouble on this top side. 3 for nothing, plus the Herald. Fluxo had no business contesting that fight when they didn't have any solo laners there. Can anyone tank this?
Tay trying to work on Hidan, forces him back, gets away from the hook as well, and it seems like he's delayed the play for now. But Lava, still healthy enough, still happy to stand at range and knock down that turret.
It was a little bit scary to try and go for that HP bar. It's a little bit too low unless Lava wants to be the one tanking, but then if he's tanking, he can't particularly do the damage. But they are going to get this turret anyway. And a really good mid-game resurgence from Los Grandes, utilizing those solo lanes. And as you'd mentioned, the PowerPoint for their entire game had been those solo lanes. Good to see that Bruce is able to spell shield out on that Curse of the Sad Mummy, but unfortunately it doesn't really make a difference when Hidan flashes on your face, takes down a large majority of your health bar. And again, great positioning on the blast cone there from Hidan. Goes over with him and is the recipient of that 800 gold shutdown. This Rumble, it wasn't scary enough from dumpstering the laning phase. Getting 800 gold injected is going to make it even more terrifying.
Those solo lanes getting even scarier for Los Grandes. And remember, the playoff stream is still alive. If they get a win over Fluxo here, this could set them up for that late game run. It means they don't have to get a win over Red, over Loud. They just need to find another one over INTZ and get one more after that. And if they can punish Fluxo, a team that has been one of our highest performing in the second round robin, Fluxo and Pain a head and shoulder above the rest right now. This does spell good things for Los Grandes, for this extended, tweaked, amended project that has kind of remained in split number 2. If they can pull out wins like this, perhaps there is more to salvage than we thought.
And a reminder, coming into split number 1, obviously we were very high on the Los Grandes hype train. They finished third in the playoffs for split number 1. Coming into split number 2, our expectations only increased with the, with Stardust and Lava, 2 Koreans that very, very highly sought after, and particularly coming to Brazil, we were expecting them to have really high highs. This isn't a surprise for us that Los Grandes are performing up against the top teams. If we look at it from that perspective, it's the context of the season where they're 5 and 9, not having the best performances, that makes this a shock victory. But if we look at the names on paper, go back to the start of the year, not a shock at all that they're challenging the top squads.
Yeah, absolutely. We do need to remember the heritage that they have, the pedigree on some of these players. As now Fluxo
a literal
need
world
to steady
champion as their
themselves.
coach, right? Like,
yeah, there's some power on that index for sure. As for Fluxo's side, we need to stabilize, we need to shake that one off and think about, okay, let's just not do that. We were having a great time split pushing, we had House in the bot lane, we had the static shifts clearing waves, we were scaling up, it was all good. Picked a careless fight and lost a lot of momentum. The Herald now going to continue the pressure for loss into this mid turret.
Completing the outer ring of tier 1s means that now Los Grandes' map control that little bit greater, and the mid tier 1 turret always very useful because it gives a lot less safety for particularly Brunsey this time. Him even standing in this position just got a lot scarier now that he doesn't have a mid tier 1 turret. The fact that that Los Grandes can seep into the jungle of Fluxo, lay down vision that bit easier without being scared of having to back out into a tier 1 turret. Obviously very, very dangerous for the Fluxo side, who for the time being have put a lot of stock into this top side, making sure that House is protected, making sure that he can, if they want to, go for some trades.
Lava quick to drop the explosive shot on his head, forcing a retreat back over the wall there. As Fluxo, I'm not expecting them to honestly contest anything until they get the second items, but clearly they are flexing some muscles. But a re-engage from Manil catches 3 of them again, but do they have the damage this time to make it work? They've got the solo laners ready and prepared, as there's no heat on there, no TP on this Rumble, and that seems to be the deciding factor.
Might just need to send our teams back to primary school at this point, Trajan, because it's just numbers. We need to do some basic counting. Who's got the bigger team with us?
Yeah.
Who's going to win the fights, right there? And L engaging when he doesn't have the numbers to back them up. Fluxo know that they've got teleport if they want to. And honestly, just really sloppy mistakes from both of our teams that, as we've mentioned, have been capitalized on. Credit to Fluxo there. They recognize, okay, this is illegal, and L, you should die for this, and he does. Similar to what we got to see from Los Grandes when Fluxo contested at that Herald.
Exactly, and now Fluxo have started to stabilize, and I was about to say I don't expect them to do anything until they finish second item spikes on House and Brunsey, but clearly the addition of an entire extra champion was enough to kind of assuage that one, the balances just check out. And now they do have the Night Harvester done on House. They are close to completing that second item done for Brunsey, presumably some sort of mythic, and then they will be able to actually contest a lot better in the fights.
Got components of the Navori Quick Blades in Brunsey's inventory. Core Fields Warhammer likely to be finished out into that Navori item, which just makes spell shielding, again, very, very easy for a Sivir. Makes catching her off guard that little bit harder, particularly for champions who are so skill shot, or not skill shot, rather cooldown dependent, like the Amumu, like the Rumble. Baron started for Los Grandes though. Really good timer.
How's on the split right now, still sticking to the turret as Equalizer blows him down. Now the TP comes in, but I dare say the Baron has already fallen. Let's Disarmers can steal it, not quite. Has to flash out. Is there a fight to be had? House looks for the chain. Ranger's going to get locked up. Doesn't find a hook. Drops the box and flashes out of it. And Fluxo trying to get their teeth into anybody on the Los Grandes side. But all 5 members slip away with the buff.
Really like the timing here from Los Grandes. Remember, you'd highlighted the 2 item spike that had been hit by the Disarmers, hit by House. Importantly, Brunsey's still not there, and when your 2 marksmen have hit their power spikes, you want to leverage that as much as possible. It's going to come at the cost of the Infernal Soul point, but when you've got a Baron buff at this stage in the game, Los Grandes are hoping to use this to get a very, very large gold swing in their favor. They've already got a slight advantage. Would like to see them try and balloon this gold lead now so that the Drake fights that are inevitable in 5 minutes' time are fairly one-sided with a Los Grandes gold lead.
As now the Navoris comes in just a little late to the party for Brunsey there. 5 minutes, as you say, will be a very important pivot point for this game, but Natuno and Lava, the W8D carriers, are already working on the structures as this gold lead will start to grow. They'll potentially be threatening 3 item spikes on multiple members by the time this dragon becomes a possibility, who knows, with the Baron, if they can find an engage on the tower, they could look for more.
Yeah, they've got so much long range, engage, and damage. Between the Inferno Multi and the Equalizer, if there are people that are caught in a Curse of the Sad Mummy, you don't actually need to fully commit as these backliners in order to find success. To be very careful as Fluxo for the next couple of minutes or so. And honestly, going into the remainder of the game, the team fights don't get too much easier. You're going to have to be playing very cautiously as House skirting these team fights, using the Static Shiv and the Night Harvester combination for poke. And then you're really relying on Brunseat for your consistent DPS. Tay at this point in the game has been outscaled. He's been able to, you know, equalize that CS. Well, great. You're still Renekton late game. So we're looking for flash combos onto Natuno, onto Lava, because that's pretty much his only purpose in these team fights.
He is a W bot. As he crashes Swabe into topside, Hidan and Ranger return over, has to flash away from House and Desamis. Quick fingers from the Los Grandes top laner. If he goes down, that could have been a lot more lost. And it's still top lane, falling to Fluxo.
Teleport available for Tay here if they want to try and stop this bot lane tier 2 from going down. So that is going to be expended, and it means that overall it's a teleport used for Fluxo, and they do manage to find that turret themselves. But Los Grandes have got a couple of members here. They may well look to really force this advantage home.
Explosive shot, charging away from Lava, very low as the tower now, but remember, Hidan cannot be here if a fight is forced. The Brunseat ultimate, the Tuno completely separated, but there's the Lava. Engage comes through from Jojo. Tay looks for that stun bot, is chasing out the Abelos. He'll make it work at the end of it if he can't quite get the auto. The range just millimeters away, and look who's coming around the corner. It's Hidan with a Flame Spitter ready to go, but is the fight already over? The Sam is so low, Ranger taps him down. Somehow Natuno got the kill. And it's 3 versus 3 right now. House has the mobility. He could look for the chase. He could look for the chains. Hidan's got no ultimate. But Los Grandes get away with just the 2 for 3 in the end.
So many cute micro interactions in that team fight, getting kills that honestly neither one of them deserved or should have gotten. This was a peak 2023 League of Legends team fight. You see the damage being pumped out by Lava on this graph. Absolutely phenomenal showing from him so far. I'm glad that we get to see this one again. Natuno does get a good lantern from Ranger, but it telegraphs for Jojo what his engage needs to be. And Tay, the woes of a late game Renekton, my friend, absolutely devastating. Now check this out. Natuno drops a Calibrium turret. That's going to be important for later. Static Shiv attack from House takes down the Aphelios. The sniper turret wails away the whole time onto Disarm. It's a very important hook from Ranger to keep him in range of that Aphelios turret. You say this champion got nerfed. The attack speed on that turret supposedly reduced. Not reduced by enough to take down Disarmus. And really good stuff from Ranger. This whole game, I must say, Thresh, one of those champions that if you've not played a lot of, can feel very weak on. But Ranger has been phenomenal with lanterns, with hooks, and with general box placement.
We are seeing a team of Fluxo that we know can teamfight with the best being matched blow for blow by Los Grandes. And this is certainly another positive to spell out for Los Grandes in this late season, this last chance that they are in. If they can take Fluxo the distance, they might have more to offer us here, but 45 seconds until the Infernal Soul point. That is going to be such a pivotal moment. If Fluxo get that, you can consider them right back in this game, even if they lose a fight off the back of it. But they have to make sure all the pieces in place.
We have to look at our items then. How well did Los Grandes use that Baron? Well, they've got 3 items on both of their marksmen. That's a check in the positives column. However, House also got 3 items. He picked up 2 kills in that bot lane and has accelerated his Shadow Flame. Equalizer down. There's no way out.
No, Tay gets with an advantage toss, but it's just delaying the inevitable. Fluxo instead committing to the mid lane push. It'll be a 4v5 if it's anything at all at this dragon. And Fluxo, we may just have to wait another 5 minutes for this, but I don't know if you've got that kind of time.
Game of chicken going on right now. Fluxo charging down mid lane with Lava, charging down bot lane. How much do Fluxo get from this push? It's just going to be the Drake secured by Los Grandes. 2 turrets falling in the mid lane. And they're going to have to accept that. They got a little bit of gold from the tier 2 down on that bot side. Lava now again with a BF sword extra in his inventory. We're very, very happy about how strong he's feeling. The stopwatch as well. That extra element of safety should he potentially overcommit a bit too hard. With Baron now spawned, Fluxo, having played from mid lane up to this top side, are going to have inside track on the river, have all of that vision, and now Los Grandes, quite wisely as a unit, have to face check, clear out that vision, and put their own down as well.
So Hal's getting the shove in that top lane wave to at least waste a couple of seconds of Natuno's time, catching it back up. Enough for Tay to catch up with the team as well. He's got a stopwatch to try and go deep for the all-important stun. Brunse still shoving mid. Critically does not have the Bloodthirster or the shield bow completed. He's not going to have nearly as much power in the inventory. Fluxo, they need to get in now if they're going to make anything of this. The equalizer goes down. They want to 5v5. Hal's on the side, pokes onto Hedan. It's a good start. In goes Anel. He catches a couple, but not the carries. Jojo tries to slow him down. Infernal ult is good, but Natuno is not being challenged. In with the Gale Force, and Fluxo in full retreat into the mid lane. Only one is lost, but it's another Baron buff gone.
And they just can't engage. They don't have any way into these teamfights without Jojo finding a unique flank angle, with him taking a ton of damage on the way toward that fight. There's nothing for Fluxo to do. House wasn't able to play trickery on the side lane or sidelines and catch people out with static shift Night Harvester procs. Brunse never really able to auto-attack. Lava jumped forward and instantly Brunse just had to flash away. There's a 4-level difference between those marksmen. Lava level 18 on the Tristana. It was B1'd for Los Grandes this game, and he is showing you why this pick needs to be banned. Equalizer does a great job at cutting Fluxo in half. And as soon as you see the weakened top side, those weakened frontliners, a little bit isolated, NL, really good decision making, dives forward. And again, credit to Ranger. There's a lantern there to get him back out, so NL can play the most time in the front line, absorb as much damage as possible, and then bail out at the last second.
Los Grandes wasting no time getting the push. Another equalizer shoves Fluxo back from their own turret. House looks on the side with the Samus as well, but all the flash is still available for Los Grandes. They were just not stripped of these summoners in the last fight, and Fluxo desperately need to find a pick, need to find some sort of hero catch from any of their members. Otherwise, Los Grandes is going to be shredding inhibitors.
The difficult thing for House here is that both those marksmen have got Bloodthirsters, so even if he pokes them out, one more wave enters, and then they just heal it all back up.
You saw Lava standing boldly in the faces with a lantern right behind him. He gets that turret through, and now the inhibitor is exposed. Los Grandes, they've just got to keep it together. They've just got to hold their nerve, and they could have a big ticket win under their belt going into this second last week. Jojo goes in, instant stopwatch from Hedan, a flash in from House. He's popped out by Lava, and Fluxo just don't have the numbers rooted. It's back to primary school again. It doesn't add up for our Fluxo roster, and the Baron empowered minions crashing into the turret. We're going into the final seconds.
Lava destroys these turrets in 3 autos flat. That rocket, so powerful through the late game. And again, I keep on harping on Ranger, but he's the one that hooks House. How does a Thresh ever land a LeBlanc in a late game situation? I do not know, but Ranger does it. Tandem with Lava, they turn it round, they find a insta-kill onto this assassin. The only real point of Fluxo that can do any damage gets annihilated off the rip. Now Lava gets to go back to base. He finishes up his Guardian Angel. So does Natuno. And again, the fights were hard for Fluxo before those resets had come through. Now they have to kill both AD carries twice.
They're feeling nigh on untenable for Fluxo right now. Our current third place team looking like they could take it to any of our top teams, but it's the threat from 7th place that comes in sharking. I think it's actually 8th place that Los Grandes are currently in, that looks to destabilize them to end the 5-game streak they're currently on. And Los Grandes not wasting time around that Dragon River, heading towards this mid lane. Again, House and Samus on the flank, and Equalizer is down, but the poke is just negligible.
And again, even if it was dealing damage, we have double Bloodthirster to make it work. House can never stick around for an auto attack, which is half of the build that you've gone in for, but if he stays for one auto, it means that Natuno also gets an auto attack traded back. And at this stage in the game, if you're tanking an Aphelios auto attack for poke, it's just not going to work out for you. So really strong late game here from Los Grandes, those double marksmen, putting in overtime, not just with taking turrets, but with taking team fights as well. I love to see how well they are looking to use this map. Really clean, really precise League of Legends. We've taken 2 inhibitors. What's our next play? Quite simply, go to the lane where the inhibitor is still up. We will let the super minions in mid lane, super minions in top lane act as a 6th, a 7th person. And when Fluxo go to respond to those waves, that's when we'll strike. If they don't respond, super minions take their nexus.
And a second soul point denied by Los Grandes as well. Their damage starting to rack up with those multipliers. And Hao's not quite done with his Rabadons. We see no 4th item completed on Bronze either. New Equalizer goes down. Jojo with a nice engage. They catch out Hidan, but is it enough? The carries are still alive. The Samus gets Haymaker down, and Lava turns back to the structure. Hao's again on the flank. Trades the auto. He doesn't like that. Natuno flashes in. Cleanses out the CC. Takes the game in his hands and says, stop yourself, Tay. Back to the fountain. Hao's again chased away, and Los Grandes, do they have enough to end the game right here? Bronze still alive, and it looks like they will give them a little time, but the wave stepping forward. Lava not quite done just yet. House is going to find the recall. He's still not back at base. Jojo under the tower. Can't even crash down, and the last turret falls. It's just going to end, and Los Grandes open up week 8 with a massive W over Fluxo.